Okay, so we've invited you here to lecture within this Theology of Joy grant, and you're lecturing on substance abuse. And so I think the obvious question is, how do you move from talking about substance abuse to talking about joy?
Yeah, because they seem like oxymoron, right?
Yes.
They seem like they're just the antithesis of each other.
Right.
And, I think as Charles and I have been working on this together, one of the things that we have come to say about substance abuse is that substance abuse is fake joy. It fools people into believing that when they get that good feeling from the initial use of substances, that takes them away from what is hard in their lives or what is uncomfortable or what is stressful, that's the same thing as joy. And the problem is that over time, using a substance, they start misrecognizing what real joy actually looks like, because it tricks the brain into believing, the brain analog of joy, if you want, the biological analog of joy, is this dopamine reward system activated that opens us to the kind of enjoyment and the God-given pleasure that is in us because we are wonderfully made by our Creator. And so we have that capacity to feel joy, to experience joy, the deep welcome of God and the acceptance of God and the openness of God to us. And then we receive that in joy and enact that in our lives, embodied in the world. Well, substance abuse gets in the middle of that by masquerading as genuine joy when actually it's this very poor facsimile. It may make the same reward system activate, but it cannot hold all that is joy because of all the stuff that it leads to and involves from there, all the negativity that we've been talking about. So the principal issue is, in a sense, with substance abuse, it's a double whammy. It's not just that substance abuse inhibits joy, which it does. It's that it inhibits it, and then it pretends like it is the real deal. And so it distorts the person who's using, it distorts their very ability to recognize joy when they see it. That's a pretty significant issue. And so this issue, it seems to me, now I'm biased because I care very intensely about this, obviously, but this is where the rubber meets the road with joy. It's not actually oxymoronic in totally opposite fields. It is the place where we really have to start saying, well, what is a theology that is about joy? What is the, what is a theology of joy, and how does that actually engage life lived on the streets, life lived in a young person's household where they're using to get through the pressures of their school life or their home situation, whatever is going on. What does joy mean in those situations? And I think with young people, there's often a tendency, with any age people, to say, well, joy is the absence of suffering. And so if suffering is going on over here, joy is all washed up, right? This understanding of joy says joy is a place where suffering can be recognized as a part of human experience and a part of life. And joy is a kind of deep well that allows us to hold that in, sometimes in tension, with the deep desire of God for our wholeness, for our healing, for our flourishing, that we get glimpses of but cannot fully experience now. That joy is that thing, and substance abuse inhibits our ability to engage that because we stop engaging our suffering creatively as well.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, and I'm feeling joyful because what everything that Joyce has said is a part of, I think, the training that youth ministers should have in terms of this theology of joy, having the welcome of God. Because if you have that real training and understanding of it, what you make a part of your youth group is a teaching where the young people not only recognize or taught that this joy is being welcomed by God and how that can certainly help our self-esteem or whatever, but the flourishing comes out of making a priority of trying to express that understanding of God welcoming me. How today, out of all of your priorities, are you going to recognize the work of God's joy in your life? Is that a priority for the day? Because most people can wake up, look, I got to get to school, I got to get to, go to practice after school, I got to hang with my friends, but do you have, as a part of your list of priorities for the day, hey, wait a minute, now where can I recognize and even express the joy of the Lord today? I mean, even if you just say that, and the kids say, well, I don't know what you mean. I mean, just making it a part of their vocabulary is, I think, a very important part of the youth minister's job. Because if you're just giving them the information, but you're not challenging them to use the information or make it a part of their daily life, that's just something that they're going to think about when they see you.
Yeah, and the information word triggers for me the thought that sometimes in youth ministry, what we think about when we think about how do we equip, how do we teach in terms of substance abuse, we think, well, let's give young people information about specific drugs. That's great to do. Let's teach them the youth group equivalent of public health class kind of stuff where we help them be scared about the effects of drugs. Nobody ever got sober that way, by the way. Or 2011 other things, but we forget to invite into a life of joy. We forget that we need to teach people a vocabulary, your way of talking about this, and a set of practices oriented toward flourishing, toward wellness, toward wholeness, all of which are parts of this life of joy that we're naming.